So the news is going around that apparently MW3 no longer has SBMM. And well, judging from my last few games that I played, that might honestly be the case. Now, to be fair, this isn't really anything new to me. I have personally stated before that as soon as a new Call of Duty comes out, they either tone down SBMM by a crap ton, or they just straight up get rid of it. Because obviously when the current Call of Duty becomes the old Call of Duty, there's not going to be as many active players. So of course they need to turn it down or even turn it off so that the game is still somewhat playable. Because I don't think many lobbies would be available if it was as strict as the current COD. But I watched, I think, either Exclusive Aces or Nero Cinema's video on MW3, how it actually is like somewhat decent to come back to. And I said I was never going to come back to this COD because I just did not enjoy it as much as, well, maybe other people. But honestly, trying it again for about the 30-45 minutes that I've played, it just shows that these Call of Duties have potential to actually be a decently fun game. MW3 was probably one of the most polished games that we've gotten. Definitely more polished than Vanguard at the very least. Maybe you can make an argument about MW 2022 being like the most completed because they had like, what, 3 years to work on that, even though it still came out as a dumpster fire. But MW3 pretty much took what MW2 was, which was, you know, a pretty terrible base game, and just expanded upon it and made it actually a somewhat decent game. But these games with no SBMM, they have so much more potential to actually be a good old time, to actually being fun, and well, maybe even keeping more players playing them, because guess what, you're not under a super amount of stress every single game, sweating your butt off and just to be punished anyway. I mean, I'm just having a chill old time, not even really trying that hard. Look at how easy my lobbies are. Half these dudes are barely even moving. Now, I'm not saying that I want super easy freaking lobbies every game. I mean, that's kind of nice. That's not the point. You should have a mixture of good players, of bad players, of people of your skill. That's kind of like what the old Call of Duty was. And you know what? Back in the day, when I saw a good player, at least on BO2, when I was playing Black Ops 2 on PC 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I saw a good player in the lobby, I wasn't thinking, oh yeah, this guy in the lobby, he's definitely cheating because he's better than me. Or even like, oh well, EOMM is just literally carrying them and allowing them to have their one good game. They're not legitimately good at the game. They're just being, you know, babied because the game needs to give them their one, you know, good game so they don't actually quit out within the first 5 minutes of playing the game. When I saw good players, the people that I kind of knew in the community who were legitimately good players, I was just like, oh man, dude, this is gonna be a sweaty lobby, but I know I'm playing against somebody who's like legitimately good at the game, so I'm gonna have to actually try. I didn't think for a second the game is being rigged, so that's why I'm losing. Back in the day, I mean, you know, we see all the memes and talks about it. When somebody was legitimately so good and goated and not hacking, you respected that dude. Maybe talk a little bit of crap too, like, why are you sweating so hard? MW3 and all these Call of Duties could legitimately be 10 times better if there was just none of this algorithmic BS. I could technically be wrong. Maybe there is SBMM and EOMM in the game still. But even if it is, it certainly is not as strict. And there's no way this algorithm stuff is actually about player retention, because there's this tweet going around that apparently Activision actually had to show how much money they made and sold or something like that. And like BO3, even though, yeah, I was not the biggest fan of BO3, sold the most copies of the games that they showed. And I think it cost the least amount versus the newer Call of Duties that come out, which cost exponentially more money and are losing freaking players year after year after year. But no, if Call of Duty was like this year round, when the game first drops, I mean, I'm dropping what, 60 kills, and I barely even had to try. I'm just having a good old time. I'm literally just recording this, not even really paying attention too much to the game. And guess what? It's chill. It's fine. It's fun. I'm not saying every single game I need to drop 60 plus kills, which, okay, to be fair, like, is it even that insane? And I know you could say, oh yeah, look at that, man, going back to, you know, the old Call of Duty, saying that it was actually better than what it was. I'm not saying this Call of Duty is in the top 10 for me or anything like that, but I will always give respect and props where it's due. So I'm not saying the time that I played on MW3 was really that god tier amazing, but what it is right now, at least the few games that I played, seem a lot easier than the entire time that I played MW3. And I mean, I went back to MW 2022 2022, and out of like an hour and a half playtime, I think I had one sweaty lobby. And that's not probably because of SBMM. That's probably just because I got matched up against some actual good players. So if it's legitimately about retention, why are they losing players at an alarming rate for BO6 and losing players year after year after year? But you could also make the argument that they're really trying not to make a good game, or at least a good enough game to play for multiple years. So that's why every single year they're pretty much watered down and not even close to the potential that they could actually be at. Oh my god, I can't freaking get through the door. I don't really think MW3 is necessarily so good of a game, even without SBMM, that I would play it for the whole entire year. But it is nice, at least kind of knowing that I could come back to this game and just have a chill time. I'm not saying every single lobby is going to be like super chill like last game, because there's probably going to be legitimately good players still playing this game or coming back to it because they have the same idea. For retention-wise, like, I kind of get it because of the psychology of gambling, but there's been many such cases where I get on, literally played a quarter of a game and immediately got off because I was like, nah bro, I'm not dealing with this BS. It's already super sweaty to begin with. I'm not really out here trying to, you know, sweat my ass off. So how is that supposed to work with retention if I don't even want to play the game? If I hop in the game and deem it's not even freaking worth trying. I apologize if this video seems super negative and it's just me shitting on the freaking company, but they kind of deserve it, to be honest. But hey, I will say, just for a positive note, like I've said multiple times, this is a legitimately fun time I'm having so far. Oh shit, this lobby definitely seems a little bit sweatier. Oh man, I didn't really play a lot of War Zizzle when MW3 was the newest game, but apparently it was a lot more popular and well received than I originally thought it was. Because people were saying, maybe not really a lot of people, but you know, people in general that I saw, why did they have to ruin Warzone with the BO6 integration? At the very end of Warzone 3, it was actually in a somewhat good state, or at least a better state than what it is now. But I didn't know the sentiment was more positive with the end of MW3 than it is with BO6 integration. Also, I've seen a lot of hate on the Omni movement, saying that it's a gimmick or it just feels weird. When you're trying to like go prone and then you accidentally dolphin dive backwards, oh yeah, that's definitely annoying. I could see the argument that it's really, really stupid. But most of the time, I actually enjoy it. I like how much smoother it feels when it comes to movement than kind of how stiff it feels with current Call of Duty. And apparently, the next Call of Duty for 2025 is going to be another Treyarch game sequel or something like that to BO2. So we're getting Treyarch 2 years in a row, which I don't know if that's really the greatest thing, because BO6 is not being well received at all. I don't know how Treyarch is really going to cook if they do another Call of Duty so soon. Maybe the reason why BO6 is not that great is because they're putting more time and effort into the next Call of Duty. But with that being said, 2 Call of Duties by the same studio 2 years in a row, that can't be good and healthy, right? How the heck are they going to be able to make 2 games in 2 years? They've been probably working on this since Cold War, if not even before Cold War. Even when they have multiple years to cook, they don't really end up doing so great. Less time to cook, less time to actually make a good Call of Duty. I just cannot see that being a positive in any way. Although getting another Infinity Ward game, listen man, I am not looking forward to that whatsoever, but I am curious about it. I am intrigued, and I was pretty dang sure that it was going to be an Infinity Ward Call of Duty for 2025. Technically, if it was in the same rotation, it would be. Do I think Infinity Ward would make a great Call of Duty? Absolutely not. We see what they did with MW 2022. That was their envision of the perfect Call of Duty, essentially. So my theory on that is that they would double, no, triple, or quadruple down on MW 2022's design. It would somehow be even worse than MW 2022. Because let's be honest, who the heck really wants to play a newer version of MW 2022? Also, I found it funny how a lot of people said, all we have to do is wait a little bit longer, get through MW3, and then we're chilling with Black Ops 6. But honestly, I don't even know if Black Ops 6 is a true Treyarch COD, because it seems like there's a lot of Infinity Ward influence in the game, because Black Ops 6 feels like the least Treyarch game they've ever made. So I wouldn't really doubt if it comes out in a few months or so, but even though it's Treyarch's game, Infinity Ward had a lot to do with Black Ops 6. I am honestly just awaiting the next era of Call of Duty, because there's just no way that it gets worse from here on out, right? Right? I would take supply drops back over what we have now. But yeah, everyone, SBMM seems to either be turned off or at the very least a lot weaker than what it was. So I guess if you're itching to get back on MW3, go ahead and give it a shot.